James Gunn is already burnt out. Now, I did a video like in January or February, and I told y'all, I said, listen, James Gunn cannot be the head of a studio and also write and direct multiple films without burning out very quickly. I gave him 3 years. Now, I don't know a lot about DC, but I know a lot about the movie and television business, so I can assess what I see is going on already. And what I see is James Gunn burning out within the next 3 to 4 years. During this big announcement, he pretty much stated that he's either writing or directing a vast majority of these projects, and that's just not sustainable as a studio head. He done already tore down now. He just did an interview and he said, y'all, I am tired. The man said he's tired.
And I'm going to read 2 quotes from him because I think it's important to put things in context for him. He said, when talking about what the process is like now, he says it's challenging because I am by nature a writer and director. That's my experience being a writer, director, produce things, but it doesn't come as naturally to me. That's a telling thing. It doesn't feel like it does. And so that is trying to be the best producer I can. That's something that's for me, it's a personal challenge. I'm focused on being the best producer and supporting those creators the best I can to help tell good stories. Really, I'm beholden to the story in those things as much as I am to the story of my own stuff, which I think is fine. It's good to admit you've got some faults and you want to work on them and be better at those things. Nothing wrong with that. I may get so fucking tired that I can't do it because I'm pretty tired, but we'll see. But there's a plan that I'm going to do, a couple more at least. So again, a couple more and maybe more. So to me, this is where it gets confusing, right? And
see, I knew this was going to happen because it's just human nature. I've seen it time and time again in corporate America. And what happened was James Gunn saw what Kevin Feige was doing at Marvel and said, yeah, I can do that. I can even do it better because I'm an actual director and writer. Problem is, you also have to be a producer and a leader. You can't just be a creative. And it's important being a producer. It's so rare that a person can write, direct, produce, and be like executive CEO and thinking that certain things are not going to start failing because you just can't be in all these different places at once. So he's come out and said, listen, I'm not really doing good in the production side of the business. I could be better. And I've been telling people for the longest, this man is a creator. He's not an executive. There's a different job of being an executive, and it's a whole different lifestyle. And what I've witnessed and learned is people who are super, super creative, they struggle being executives because a lot of creative people are not business people. They're artists. So they're not really thinking about the business because they're so engulfed in art. And what it looks like, what it seems is James Gunn wants to create, not run a business. He thinks he wants to run a business, but I think he hasn't figured out that balancing act just yet. And a lot of times, the creative and the executive, those roles don't mesh. They generally do not mesh well. James Gunn's job should be finding and developing talent, writers, and directors. But he wants to be the writer and director. He thinks he's the better version of Kevin Feige, and he's not. Because being Kevin Feige, being an executive, you got to be a little cutthroat. You got to be able to tell people no sometimes. You got to be able to hurt the feelings of people who tend to be more creative. And when you're somebody like James Gunn, who is naturally a creative person, you just feel like everything is your playground. You feel like you can do whatever. And in reality, you need somebody to pull that creative back at time and say, hey, hold up. We got to look at the business. Maybe Superman shouldn't be a $300 million film. Maybe we should do it at like 150, 175. That way, if we hit $600 million, everybody is happy. Okay, that's the job of an executive. But when you have an executive who's a creative, like James Gunn, he's looking at that $300 million budget and is like, this movie's going to make $1 billion. Yes, I need all 300. When in reality, somebody should have pulled him back and said, no. $300 million? They probably spent that on Infinity War. And you put that in your first DC movie, in a Superman movie. Superman movies rarely make like bank like that. Crazy. But when you have a boss who's also a creative, you get a $300 Superman movie until his boss decides to come down and put the pressure on him and say, we can't do that. We can't keep doing that. That's too much.